welcome to Meanwhile in the Falklands from FITV. Do you know what I found out this week? That some people listen to their podcasts at a lot quicker pace. So if I speak... Yeah, what is that? What is that? Do you do that?
I think, yeah, I do as well. I think it's because we're all so busy these days that we want to fit in as many as possible, because I like to listen to a podcast on my walk to work, but sometimes my walk to work isn't the same length, so I speed it up so I can listen to the whole thing. But also you can take in loads of knowledge.
Do you have any...
Hang on. Oh no, I am on. That's all right. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself. There you go. All right, I'm back in now. So I'm back in the room. Sorry, I was interrupted. Please tell me more.
Back in the Matrix.
I speed up audiobooks and podcasts because I like to fit them in one go so that I can listen
I
to them.
find that very, very sad.
What, speeding up things to try and fit it in?
I find that really sad. Is that because I'm getting old?
But life is so fast-paced.
So
that,
fast-paced.
Let's slow the bloody thing down. Oh, mustard word.
can you put your headphones on for me, please? Because my belly's rumbling and I need to know if you can hear that.
We're keeping all of this in. We're keeping all of this in.
I haven't had breakfast.
For the benefit of the tape, Katie just listened to Thomas's stomach.
It was like she was checking my baby.
So the other thing we've learned this morning is that not many people have stuff for breakfast, because Hannah is currently next door because one of our exports failed, but was there. So she's sitting there with a packet of chocolate peanuts and eating those and a cup of coffee and watching the programme to make sure it
Can
works.
I just say I really like the use of chocolate peanuts there as to not give away the brand.
Anyway, so God, I feel really loud now because I've turned myself up. So it's a programme of new things. If you're watching along with this, you need to look at programme number 414 on fitv.co.fk, and there are a lot of new things. There was the new asphalt plant, we're coming back to that word later. The new CBF, which we interviewed Brigadier Nick Sawyer on Monday, didn't we?
Yes, indeed, yeah. Nice bloke, very ginger.
Yes, he's a very nice bloke.
But
so are you.
But so's my beard at the moment, yeah, true. But he reminded me of Prince Harry. Ginger hair and blue eyes, very charismatic. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I do like Prince Harry.
He had a very nice plate of assorted biscuits that we didn't touch.
Oh, that was good of you.
Yeah. Although he did offer them to us.
Your face says otherwise. Did you eat a
well,
biscuit?
my belly's rumbling now and I'm wishing I had that assorted plate of biscuits.
And new charity as well. You went and did that, didn't you, Thomas?
Yes, indeed. So it's called Southern Heartbeat. It's about getting AEDs, so defibrillators, down within the community. It's sort of done all over the place. You see it quite a lot in the UK. It's just community defibrillators to sort of help out if there's anyone there. And it's not just for heart attacks, but cardiac arrests. And that's one of the important things they're trying to get across, because one of the big comments that was made when they were looking for people to back it, put some money into the charity, was, are there really that many people that have heart attacks? And it's not just about heart attacks, it's about a cardiac arrest that can be brought on by a variety of different things. And I think it was the stat they got from the UK charity, which donated the first AED down here. So that charity has donated one here already. But the stat they got is that they've helped 4,500 people since July 2018.
Amazing.
So in the last half
Wow.
of 2018, over 4,000 people was potentially saved by these community
This is in
AEDs.
the UK?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so they've set it up down here. It's called Southern Heartbeat. All the trustees are either full-time or retained members of the fire service, but it is very much separate from the fire service. I think it's just because they're quite a tight-knit group of people who had very similar ideas and were really up for it.
Yeah.
So I went down and chatted with the chair of the trustees and another chap called Jen, who's going to be running all of the CPR training and all of that. So yeah, really looking forward to some of that. And there are some really, really powerful stories that are going to be coming out alongside it as well. And it's not something I'd ever really thought of, but really looking forward to seeing how that goes.
So what have you been working on this week, Katie? I just looked down here and I thought, I don't know whether you've done any of these ones.
Your stuff
What have
got
you been
bumped for
doing?
next week.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing this week. I've been working on things that are kind of on the shelf and can come out at another point. So
Can we have a series called Katie's on the Shelf?
Yeah.
It's not Elf on the Shelf.
It can just start with me sitting on, to be fair, I would probably fit on shelves, really. But I was doing some things about Facebook groups, because as the podcast knows, I love social media, just about how popular they are down here. And I went to talk to one of the Emilys about...
That's a word we're going to return to as well.
About some future really quite exciting projects that are coming up, which I'm really looking forward to, that they are doing, but that I think it's really cool for FITV to be able to get involved in, and it definitely, on a personal note, it's a really exciting thing that I feel really good about being involved in, so I think that's really cool.
So on the subject of social media stats, you just had a quick look. So what's our most popular country? Where are our listeners listening from?
Well, all of you listeners, you're very spaced out, but we've got a lot in the UK, we've got a lot in the Falkland Islands, and we've got loads in America as well. But strangely enough, the city that tunes into us most is Amsterdam.
Oh, okay. Well, big shout out to you guys in Amsterdam. Then.
Anyone relaxing in a coffee shop, listening away to the podcast.
For the benefit of the tape, I just pointed and made a funny face at Thomas to stop him going any further.
I'm just saying, coffee shops are very popular these days. They've taken over from pubs.
So yeah, and how did you say we had some listeners in Chicago? They've had some terrible weather.
I know, yeah. So we do have some listeners in Chicago. I think they're 16th in our most popular list.
Okay.
And 18 of you tune in.
Which is all right, because the list is actually quite long.
Yeah, it's very long, and 18 of you have tuned into our podcast in the past. So I hope that if you are staying in the snowy weather, then you can tune into maybe a few more of our podcasts. That would be great.
Yeah.
So hello to Chicago.
Absolutely. So forget, how many times they brought out that green T-shirt, that wet green T-shirt on BBC?
I know.
For goodness sake.
But I've learnt the phrase polar vortex this week, so therefore I know what
Great
that
name
means.
for a band.
Oh, absolutely.
A ukulele band. Yes.
But also, did you see before we move on? It's not my ukulele. But before we move on from Chicago, have you guys seen the videos that were going around about like the wet trousers? And like you have wet trousers and jeans and stuff outside, and they freeze into place. So like there's like an invisible man in them.
Oh, stop it! That's scary.
People have been sticking like frozen jeans in their garden. Like there's some topless invisible people in their gardens. But there was one where a girl, she had this. It was a particular brand or something like that, and it was like, polar vortex. You may freeze my trousers, but you'll never kill their style. And she throws them up into the air and in slow motion, and it lands in the snow upright.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely fantastic. So at least people are still finding humour in minus 27 degrees.
Yeah, that is good stuff.
So moving on from social media stats. Well, no, actually, let's keep with social media stats, especially podcast stats.
Yeah.
Because you have found that there's one particular podcast that's more popular than any of the others, and I'm very excited about it.
Shock horror. Paula wants this to be emphasised.
Yeah, come on.
So, our most popular podcast so the second one, the first one has 50 more listens than the one that's in second place, which is a huge amount to be leading by.
Okay, just pause there. Listeners, take that on board. Right, go on.
Is the podcast where we read out some of Paula's book.
Yes! That's me.
Paula's book or Rita Seagull's?
Rita Seagull's book.
Yes, that's it.
Which is storming ahead in the stats at the minute.
Thank you. I am available to be signed on by any agent for a lot of money.
We just need to get your social media
available.
channels up and going. That's what we need to do next.
Well, the thing is, because I found out E.L. James is releasing another book next month, and it sort of upset me a little bit because I have very definite views on that lady's particular style of her previous books. So I was feeling a little bit down, but that, I could be on next year. $93 million, me. It could be.
I think you're there. I think this really is a good sign, and you should take that on board and use it as motivation.
Yeah, because we did that podcast, didn't we, to mirror a similar podcast called My Dad Wrote a Porno.
My boss didn't wrote.
And Rita Seagull's is not a porno. But yeah, they were reading out bits. So maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, going on to weird words.
Which we've hinted at.
Which we've hinted at before. What's the words that you finding difficult to say in the news? Because I gave you asphalt
You did.
twice because I didn't want to say it.
Yes, you did. I managed to get myself through that one, but I can see how that would be tricky. What's your one?
Well, before we go to my one, I've actually got one of yours from a couple of weeks ago. And it wasn't
awful.
just a phrase. It wasn't just a word. It was a phrase. We're talking about the South Georgian kiosk at the museum, and it was donated by the Norwegian Directorate of Cultural Heritage.
Oh my
Katie,
goodness.
can you please say that phrase for me, please?
Oh,
I can't get it. It's Norwegian Director of Cultural Heritage.
So if you watch the end of, what was that? Was that 412 or 413?
Oh,
I
I think
can't
it was
remember.
413. But I think, this is my defence for that, is that obviously in a Scottish accent you really pronounce your R's and L's way more than you do in an English accent. So trying to get out those, I can't say cultural at the best of times, it's too much mouth moving.
What about heritage?
Heritage.
So if you listen to the end of that particular programme, there is some little outtakes at the very end of that with you attempting Norwegian Director of Cultural Heritage at least 5 times, I think.
Well, I can roll my R's, so I'm just...
There we go. So what's yours then, Thomas?
Legislative.
Everyone has problem. You have to bounce on it, I think.
Legislative.
Yeah, there you go.
But there was...
We're not alone, are we?
No, we hinted at it earlier, didn't we? Someone else particularly struggled with that this week, didn't they?
Yes.
Do you want to tell the story there?
Well, I don't want to be the one. He's a trained military man. I don't want to say it.
Fine, that's all right.
Let's
I've emphasised how much he looks like Prince Harry already, so I might as well.
Okay.
He was trying to say his involvement with the Legislative Assembly whilst he's down here, and the first attempt was legislative, and then he bounced off it straight away and tried to say it again and went legislative, and then just seeing his eye just abandon all efforts at saving this. He just went assembly and carried on talking.
Yeah.
He just abandoned all efforts, and I tried to edit it as well, cut one of the legislatives out for him, but it just didn't work. So that's all in the interview this week.
Bless him. Do you have any other words? I know there is something you say that we always have, but I think it's your Scottish accent rather than
A stumble.
Yeah. So obviously down here we the members of the Legislative Assembly are called MLAs, and when you say it very quickly, Katie,
Emily.
it sounds like Emily. And just tell us that little story you told us before.
Yeah, so for about the first couple of weeks that I was down here, my mum subscribes online, as you can watch anywhere in the world.
Yeah, £2 an episode, folks.
And she watched and she thought for a very long time that one of the members of the Legislative Assembly down here was called Emily. But there's not one called Emily.
So there's no Emily the MLA?
Oh,
There's not
do you
Emily
know what?
Emily.
We so need to have an MLA called Emily.
No, that would be a nightmare for me.
Yeah,
Like,
brilliant.
Emily.
But I've just noticed you had no problem saying legislative just then, so
It's not as bad.
next
There's
time
no
I write
R's
the
in
news,
there.
you'll be getting it. 'Cause
Legislative.
clearly you can get it out your mouth.
And before we move on from that, the only other ones for me are normally the shipping vessels.
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
They're so
Which is
difficult.
why we
Well,
usually just go the shipping vessel or the fishing vessel.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
just because they come from all over the world, and so I have no idea how to pronounce half these
No.
words.
And do you
Just
not
say it with
find,
confidence.
because you obviously both of you speak French, and I learned French for some time, but I've got one of is it Stephen Clark's book, and the thing that worries me is that you say something and actually you want to say what a beautiful hat you've got on, and you end up saying, your grandma smells like a guinea pig or something like that.
Oh.
So do you not?
Well, you sort of worry. Well, to be fair, it's a slight tangent here, but looking at it, there was an article going around yesterday about tattoos that say after Ariana Grande's.
Hey, look at me knowing that.
Yeah, what is it? Small portable grill or something
Yeah.
like that. That it says she tried to put 7 rings.
Oh my goodness.
Her new #1 song.
Yeah.
Tried to get it tattooed on the palm of her hand, but they messed up the symbol, and it actually now means small portable grill.
Oh my
yeah,
like a small
didn't
portable
she?
barbecue.
It was like several things she had to have on.
Yeah.
And it was too painful, she said. She told them to stop and just do the 2.
That's
yeah.
terrible, isn't it?
But then it spread an article about all of the different celebrities who have had So like the no regrets one spelt with no ragrets.
That's hilarious.
David Beckham's one where he got Victoria, so his wife's name in Hindi, I think it was, but it was actually Victoria with an H in the middle, like when you translated it. So you just, so there's quite a few funny ones.
Yes, I've
like
always
that.
said that to my daughter. If you're going to get a tattoo, please make sure it's spelt correctly before they do anything else.
I think my favourite one is one of my friends, after being on holiday, got a tattoo that says "Made in Scotland" on her foot. And it's still there, which I just love.
On the top of her foot or on the bottom, like in Toy Story?
On the sole of her foot, it
like
says "Made in Scotland."
Right. So, moving on from weird words, actually, talking about weird words and pronunciation especially, Katie and I are involved in the production of The Importance of Being Earnest. And Katie, you are playing Sicily, just in case no one knows, and we haven't mentioned it before. Have we mentioned it before?
I think we've briefly mentioned it, yeah.
So if you're down in the Falklands on the I think it's a Thursday, the 21st of March, 22nd and 23rd or something like that, down in the town hall, come and buy your tickets on the door. Doors open at 7 o'clock. So Katie is Sicily, I am Lady Bracknell. But every so often, as I'm saying my words, I say another normal word in a normal accent. So it doesn't.
Yeah, you're kind of in this very posh accent, and then just one word comes out in your normal one. Like, what? Yeah.
Yes. But we were saying that when you're on stage, you're actually projecting throughout the whole of your speech, whereas sometimes when you do your voiceovers, sometimes you drift off towards the end, don't you?
Yeah, it's really strange. I've been trying to think about why it happens, because I thought originally, before I was doing playing Cecily, I thought, I think it's because I've got so much adrenaline when I do something like a voiceover or represent the news, that my adrenaline means that I have sharp breaths, so I can't actually have enough breath to get the words out. But doing this, I think Cecily is so bonkers and so confident that, like...
She's a nutcase.
She's an absolute nutcase that's so sure of herself that she just kind of belts out any words. So when I'm playing her, I think I'm getting quite in character, so I'm able to really project across the whole room throughout my sentence. Whereas when I'm not playing her, I kind of drift off the end. It's like I'm used to someone else talking after me, so like being cut in, or like someone jumping in, so you just kind of tail off. But yeah, it's really strange. I still can't talk as myself loudly. Like,
maybe you have to channel your inner Cecily on the news.
Yeah, but no,
that's what you did at the beginning of the news when we were doing a sound check at the beginning of the news. You were reciting all these words. I was thinking, I need to get a move on. I hope Nancy's not listening to this. Nancy's the director of this play. Because I desperately need to learn some words. Anyway, Chris Waters, who was a previous employee of FITV, he had a great one because he would start his sentences with a very long intake of breath. So when you were editing, or when I was editing him, as soon as I heard his breath, I'd put the in point, because I knew that was just the perfect amount of time before he started speaking. So he was
evidently had some very good broadcast training there.
Yeah.
Before we move on from Scotland, and I know it's not on the list,
Obviously
so feel free to shut it down, but it was 7 days ago, so I guess we didn't talk about it on the podcast last week.
No, we
Burns
didn't talk
night.
about
Oh
Burns
God,
night.
no, we didn't.
Yeah.
Before we move away from Scotland.
Let's stay with Scotland. I love Scotland.
All right,
Although
I think we have to hand over to Miss Beaton for this one.
So, an absolute triumph, wasn't it?
Yeah, so the whole Burns night, we told all the podcast about our plans for it, but it was quite a nerve-wracking thing, I think, for all of us in the office trying to put something like this together. I think any event planning is always going to be stressful. But on the day, I did just have a moment. I think I'd just come off the stage after saying something where, luckily, I think sometimes these events can just pass you by and you don't really take a moment to realise. But I was standing looking at the crowd who all just seemed to be really loving it, and just thought, oh my goodness, we've done it, and it was so nice to see that. And the amount of good compliments that I think FITV have had since then, just saying what a good night everybody had and that kind of thing. But the dancing, I think, just Derek Howitt, Lee and Lisa Martin, who were calling and doing the music for us. It was just great. It was amazing.
You had a full dance floor, because I was the licensee, so I was sitting above everybody watching.
The overlord.
Oh, the overlord watching everybody. You had a full dance floor, every single dance.
We did, yeah.
Every single dance. And hats off to Nicola and her team at the Malvina House Hotel, who provided not only haggis and vegetarian haggis, but then had sourced a gluten-free haggis for 2 of the guests who were gluten-free. So hats off to them. They did a fantastic job there.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, the whole thing just, I feel like, was really quite seamless, and it just ended up being a really good, really nice event, which I think sometimes in the very fancy events, everybody can feel a little bit on edge because you're at something really fancy, and I think it was the perfect combination. I think everybody, all the guests, felt quite relaxed and able to just have a really good time with their Friday night. It was great.
So I was saying, how's the podcast doing for time? Because we could almost try and get Katie to recite her toast to the laddies here if she can remember it.
Well, I was going to move on. It's sort of as a social media, and going back to that really again, there was a lady on social media. There's a Facebook group which you have interviewed the person who's one of the admins for it, called Falkland Islands Community Board,
yeah.
where they post a lot of things. But there was a lady asking. It's great if you're going to come down to the Falklands to message them and ask questions, and you get lots of people telling you what to bring and stuff like that. She wanted to know where you could buy mattresses from and stuff like that. So, I mean, you coming down, both of you have come down, as I have, what would you tell people to bring, or what would you want them to know? Because it's great, because we've got a chap and a lady, so what would you like to have been told? Clearly, you haven't bought any shaving products with you, Thomas.
I actually have just decided that the rugged Falklands needed a rugged look. You look at pictures of me from the day I got here to 2 years later, I've aged like 5 years and 2 years.
I think coming down, I wouldn't say that you need to worry too much about your sort of products, as it were, so like your makeup or your shower gel shampoo, because I think you can get all that at an okay price. But I would say clothes are such a huge thing.
I'd say black mascara. Sometimes you can't get black mascara for love nor money down here.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that before I came, and I've got about 8 tubes still left, so I might sell it on the community on Bring and Buy, get a fortune. But I think down here, because of the weather, I think your clothes wear a lot faster than they would elsewhere. And I mean, I personally like to change my style and that sort of thing, but that's kind of a more personal thing. And I can't buy clothes here for love nor money.
Yeah.
That's the phrase of the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cheeky.
Go on.
And it's
love nor money. That's the phrase of the day.
Okay. Yeah, so I think definitely making sure that you can get your clothes. But saying that, ASOS delivers. If you're a person that likes to shop on ASOS, you can get down delivery straight down
I'm
here,
sure
as
there
do
are
many
other
other
places.
brands.
Yeah, sure there are others that
there will be others. So yeah, I think
they
that's
do
definitely
be careful with your ASOS deliveries, because they do write what's on the front of the bag.
For the benefit of the tape, Thomas has just been punched by Katie.
We won't elaborate any further than
Is there
that.
anything you would have wanted to be told?
I think it depends what you're into, and it depends how long you're going to be down here. If I'd known from the start I'd be here for 3 years, I'd have brought a wetsuit, definitely. Whereas now it's sort of getting to the last year. Do I go out and make that investment now? So it depends. It depends what you're into. But I think clothes are a relatively big thing for a guy. I don't really mind. I mean, I don't know whether this is just a genuine stereotype of boys versus girls, but I'm quite happy recycling the same 5 t-shirts and the same 5 shirts. And I have and I have an understanding that by the end of my time here, they're probably going to end up in the bin and not come back with me, because they will be so worn and everything else. So that stuff hasn't really bothered me. In terms of things that definitely bring down, I wouldn't be able to know.
Waterproof coat, I think.
Yeah,
Waterproof
sunglasses.
Sunglasses.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a big thing. I heard a dreadful statistic about people getting cataracts from not wearing sunglasses, the UV damage, and obviously UV down here is quite high.
One thing that I regret bringing, which took up so much space in my suitcase, was I brought down all of my horse riding stuff, as in my hat, my chaps, my boots, everything. And I've not been on a horse once. so I thought there'd be loads of riding around here, but actually it's more like there's not a riding school or anything. If you want to ride, it's kind of people that you know, or your own horse. So that's gonna take up a lot of space in my suitcase. That
Heavy as well.
Yes.
So we're coming to this weekend, which is a mad weekend of sport. We've split into 2 teams.
Yeah,
You two are covering MPC on Saturday with the sports going on there. Starting with kayaking, I've no idea where the Gull Pond is, so...
it's on the way, you turn left before MPC, so it's not actually in Mount Pleasant complex, you turn left and it's on the way to Mare Harbour.
Yeah. And then finishing off with a five-a-side.
Yeah. I think
the under-11s.
I think we've got the good straw there because they're doing breakfast and lunch as well.
Oh, are they?
In the
I
canteen.
thought that was only for competitors.
No, and
Lucky old you.
I checked. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So it was food. We haven't done breakfast today, but we've got breakfast tomorrow. It's sorted.
Hannah and I are doing Sunday, which is based in Stanley, kicking off at 9 with basketball at the leisure centre, and ending with football on the football pitch in the evening.
I'll be down to watch that, definitely.
Yeah.
Cheer the guys on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. It's like one of those things. At the moment, I'm sort of dreading having to chase around getting the shots, but actually on the day it'll be fine.
Well, it's exactly as you were saying earlier. Yeah, it's one of those where you look at it and you go, "That's such a packed day. It's going to be so hard."
That's me. That's my voice.
That's literally that voice. But as soon as it's exactly what you said earlier, as soon as you get into it, you're so hyped by all of it, and you're running around and you really get into all the sport, and because there's that element of competition, because it's essentially a varsity event between Mount Pleasant and Stanley. Yeah. Like by the end of Sunday, we're going to be like, "Oh, Mount Pleasant are ahead." Yeah, Mount Pleasant are ahead by this many points. So as you go through the events on the Saturday, you'll be able to start tallying the points there and then, and you'll have sort of in a real time which team's looking like it's going to win.
Yeah.
And we started the programme with firsts. This is the first competition of its kind down here, which was supposed to be the previous CBF's legacy. But he's had to go off to India a little bit earlier than expected.
He's had to go off to India.
Yeah.
Hard knock life. He's going to be a student again in his 40s.
So yeah, it's a very, very jam-packed weekend. So next week's, well, that'll be great for Stephen if he's still with us and still listening to the podcast. Because he's a big sports fan. Yeah, tuning in to
we'll tell you all about
415 there, Stephen. You'll be well away with all that sport.
So yeah, the podcast next week will just be a breakdown of all the big sporting activities from the weekend, and then just a quick chat about what we did in the week. Just a quick
bit of everything else. There's some new police officers that are being whatever they do to be new police officers sworn in on Monday.
I don't know if that's the right word.
The Lighthouse Haven is opening on Tuesday. That's the new accommodation block for the Seafarers Mission. That's all been redone. That looks fantastic.
Stuff.
Star Princess in on Wednesday. 2,600 passengers.
Double the population of Stanley.
Avoid the front row. They're all stepping out in front of you there to avoid the front road on Wednesday.
Tourist mania.
Yeah, it's going to be madness. So it's all looking great for this coming week, and we're already in February, and winter will be with us soon.
Winter is coming.
There we go. That's what we're going to end unless it's copyrighted.
Yeah, I don't know if they copyrighted that. Winter may be coming.
They are. That's fine. So the benefit of the take, Katie made an awful face at that dreadful Scottish accent that Thomas attempted there.
Continually insulted by everyone's attempts at a Scottish accent.
I think it's over the course of the year I spent with Kate, I think she's become more and more endeared my attempts at a Scottish accent.
I'm going to take it as a compliment.
Okay, very good. Right, if you want to listen along and watch along to this, you need to look at episode 414 on FITV.co.fk. It's only £2 an episode, £6 a month, 60 quid. It's nothing. So you can see us. You can see us every week telling you what's going down here in the FITV studio. Sorry, Thomas just made a face at me.
Well, you kept moving your hand, and I can see your microphone slowly but surely falling out of its clip. And I'm like, if you keep putting your hand up, soon the podcast will end with just a thump.
Just stop looking at my chest, Thomas. Just stop looking at my chest. Right,
I want to get that at the BBC.
No, hashtag.
Oh no.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.